Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Figma number 206 Crystal BOWIE figure, which is a character from Cobra the Space Pirate. That's the guy with the red outfit and the laser arm thingy. I reviewed him forever ago. But my buddy let me borrow this figure so I could review it, and it's a completely clear plastic figure with the exception of some shiny gold parts. What's not to like about that? Objectively speaking, this is a very unique and cool looking figure. Whether you like it or not personally, well, that's a totally separate issue. But it's definitely unique, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. So let's get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just over 16.5 centimeters, which is going to make him just about 6.5 inches, right around there. So he definitely has a little bit of size to him. He's one of the larger Figmas. And as far as sculpt goes, it's just your standard human body for the most part. Obviously, we have like this hand here, but everything else is just a plain old body. Not really much detail there, but that's what it's supposed to be, so that's okay. The really cool thing about this, though, is aside from the plastic joints, which are not completely like chromed out like everything else is, which obviously that's not going to happen, they did insert like long bone pieces, which are chromed out, which are really cool. They're just in there inside the cavities of the main body parts, which is really nice. I love that they included that feature. It looks really, really good. There's no way they could have made the joints vacuum chrome, so that's fine. But you can see the head is super shiny. Everything else is vacuum chrome as you would expect. So very, very cool looking figure. There is a little bit of stuff going on in the chest. You can kind of see that there. Very, very cool. I like it. There's no paint, so there's nothing to talk about there. As far as accessories go, we do have an interchangeable arm for the right side, so you can just have two standard arms instead of this claw thingy. We do have a few different hands. We have the two fist hands, two gripping hands, and then two different style pose hands. Not a whole lot going on there. We have an interchangeable torso, which is kind of cool because it has a fist cutout kind of thingy on the front and then a peg on the back, so you can make it look like Cobra's punched through him. So that's kind of nice. We have an interchangeable crotch piece, which as far as I can tell is simply a different material. The one that's on him is really soft, and that's fine, but soft clear plastic tends to get sticky and discolor faster than hard plastic, so I'm guessing that's maybe why they included this one that's a harder material. I'm not sure, but they did. As far as I can tell, they're the same sculpt, it's just a different material. So you just pop the legs off and swap it out. That's kind of cool. And then we also have a little kind of wine glass thingy with a little clear peg of plastic to go in there to make it look like there's a drink. And then, of course, we have a Figma display stand. So not the most accessories ever, but probably enough. And again, the figure just looks really cool. There's one serious issue, which we'll go ahead and mention first. It's when you try to pose him, the chest pops apart. That is not good. It's because the socket here is not enough of a socket to peg onto the ball peg. But what you can see while this is apart is that we have the vacuum chrome pieces up here, and then we also have this piece in here with a little bit of red on there, and that's what you're seeing when it is all assembled. So that's kind of cool. As far as the articulation goes for the head, it's a straight peg going down into the neck, then we have our hinge, and then we have a ball peg on the top of that. So you should be okay for posing. It's a little cumbersome to do certain poses, but once you wiggle it around enough, you'll be able to. So that's pretty good. And it does look up really far, so it works nicely. I think that's okay. For the arms, there's a ball peg connecting the shoulder to the body. This is standard Figma joint. Then we have our ball hinge, which lets the arm raise up all the way. And then we have our bicep swivel where that pegs into the arm. No bicep swivel down here. For the elbow, we have our single joint, single Figma type hinge, so it does rotate some if you need it to. And then for the wrists have the hinges built into them, or the hands do. So be very, very careful. They did use translucent plastic for this, so you could end up breaking stuff very easily, but it just pegs in, so of course you have rotation, and you have your hinge. You already saw the torso joint, but I'll show you again. We have a socket up here. We have a ball peg right here, and that ball peg is connected to a ball hinge and a straight peg. And it's all very impossible to use without popping the chest apart, and then even it doesn't work that well. You can lean them forward a little bit, but as soon as you try to do anything else, it pops apart. So that's definitely a bummer. So for the lower torso, unlike most Figmas where it's just a three-way ball peg, we actually have a little bit of a different design. There's a straight peg socket right there in the chrome part of the hips, and then we have a straight peg connecting to this ball hinge, which connects to a ball peg for the lower torso. So you get a little bit of ball peg movement up here, but very minimal. So most of it's going to come from this hinge and this rotation right here. It's a little tricky to do any sideways leaning with that, but it's still functional. It can work, and so that's That's okay. I'm assuming they did that because of the weird engineering they had to do for that chrome piece in there, and the interchangeable hips and the interchangeable torso. Then we have, you can even see the two ball pegs that hold the hips onto the body. So going out to the side, we have pretty decent range. They feel like they're getting ready to pop off, but they haven't yet, so that's okay. So that's full splits. And then you can do a little bit of thigh swivel. And going forward, now mind you, this is on the flexible piece. The harder piece will be a little bit more restrictive. Bringing the leg forward is no problem at all. Get a nice shot of that chrome gold in there, very cool. And then going backward, very little range. For the knees, it's just a single joint, a little bit better than 90 degrees. And you can't really rotate or anything because this tucks in completely to the upper knee, which actually looks good, but a little bit less range. I think that's okay though. For the ankles, we have our standard Figma hinge. In fact, you can see it all the way through, so it hinges forward and back. All the way back pretty much. Forward is a little bit more limited. And then you have your swivel hinge essentially for the ankle rocker, which is pretty minimal due to this sculpt and the shape of the foot and the angle. You can see how steep that angle is. That's how a lot of Marvel Legends are, and that's why the feet come off at weird angles. So that's not that useful. But ultimately, it's a really cool looking figure. The soft piece for the crotch is becoming slightly tacky. Not too bad yet. But the hard plastic one is not a problem. So I guess many people are probably just going to swap out to that. And it's a cool piece. I forgot to mention this rotates. And that's it. So yeah, I recommend it if you're familiar with the show or just like the way this looks. I would say go ahead and pick it up. You're not going to be too disappointed. The chest popping off is a problem if you want to do a dynamic pose, but it's not like it's super loose or anything, so it's not going to fall off on its own. So I guess that's something you could live with. It's just like those last Street Fighter figures. It's terrible that it does that, but it's something I'm guessing some people will be willing to live with. So that's a decision you have to make for yourself. So there it is, guys. I do recommend it, just with some extra information you're going to need to know, and now you do. So thanks for watching, guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. I would really appreciate that. It helps me out a ton. And you should probably consider subscribing if you haven't, because I do have new videos up every single day. We talk about action figures, movies, TV shows, video games, all kinds of fun stuff. So make sure you come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.